Hi, my name is Mark Belash. I'm president of TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca. Thanks for joining us for this event today, the virtual Toronto Entrepreneurs Conference and Trade Show. I hope you've had some time to check out some of the expo, some of the booths, some of the networking opportunities that are here, and more. It's our first time doing this, so we're looking forward to your feedback. And if you have any suggestions for the future, feel free to let us know. So now I have the pleasure to introduce our next speaker on the main stage here, Anne D. Aragon. She's Vice President and Country Manager for GoDaddy Canada. The topic is pivoting your business in challenging times. A little bit about Anne. Anne is the Vice President and Country Manager for GoDaddy Canada, the company that empowers everyday entrepreneurs. In this role, Anne is responsible for all GoDaddy operations in Canada, leading the charge on business strategy and growth in Canada. Anne joined GoDaddy in 2015, bringing her expertise of the small business and entrepreneurial landscape in Canada to the team. Throughout her tenure at GoDaddy, she has worked closely with Canadian SMBs to understand their needs to help them reap the benefits of having an online presence. Anne has also been a driving force behind GoDaddy's partnership with the Toronto Raptors for the past 3 years, resulting in some of the most successful branding campaigns in the company's history. So thanks very much, Anne, for being here today, and I look forward to your presentation, and here we go.
Thank you very much, Mark. These are challenging times. We're living in the new normal, and it's not business as usual. These are just some of the cliches making the rounds these days, and I'm sure you've heard them too. And while cliches are often based in truth, I believe that business owners can use this opportunity to deeply examine what's working or maybe not working and start to put changes in place that will allow them to come out stronger on the other side of this pandemic. GoDaddy's mission is to empower everyday entrepreneurs with tools, services, and support, and I'm very proud to lead this company in Canada. As Mark said, my name is Anne Aragon, and I'm so pleased to be able to speak with you today. So given that we're 2 months into this global crisis, I'm sure you've already adapted many of your business strategies. And consider please my points today, things that can either help augment your strategies or maybe just something to think about more along the lines of common sense. And if you're just starting a business or planning to start a business, here's some great tips to keep in mind as you do that. So as I said, I've put this in the form of a top 10 list, but it really boils down to 4 or 5 main themes. The first being to remember why you're doing this in the first place. This isn't easy, so why do it? Based on some research we conducted here in Canada last year, we see that 71% of business owners are happier since becoming their own boss. And a whopping 4 out of 5 would do it again if their current business failed. And people aren't necessarily in it for the money. Over half of the small business owners don't want to even grow their business. They like what they do as long as it provides a living because they really value the flexibility that comes with being a small business owner. Canada was the highest of any country we surveyed in valuing flexibility as the #1 benefit of being an entrepreneur, with almost 2/3 saying that was the top benefit. So clearly, while being an entrepreneur will be the most challenging job you'll ever have, it's also the most rewarding. The next question to ask yourself during these times is whether it's time to maybe do an audit of your current business and an honest assessment of where you stand. Some questions to assessment are, does my value proposition still hold true, or is it time to change it? This might also apply to how your brand is perceived. So what value do you deliver to with your current product or service? And if that value has changed, what can it be replaced with? Recently at GoDaddy, we've actually undertaken some work around our own brand. Over the years, as our products and services have evolved, we felt the need to present ourselves differently. This is reflected in the way you see and interact with our brand today. We're very rooted in the idea of providing tools, services, and support to entrepreneurs, and that is reflected everywhere we show up. It's a good time to assess your current value or your current brand to see if you maybe need to make some changes. The next phase of the audit would be to ask yourself, are there new ways of selling my product or service? You may never have previously considered alliances or new distribution networks, and it may be time to brainstorm how you can shift your business. For example, a coffee shop that we know had a retail location where they sold their beans. However, with retail having closed, they had to think of another way to get their beans to market. So they started doing direct ship to customers, as in dropping them off at their house, and partnering with food distribution providers. So now they're doing wholesale along with their retail because they were able to shift their business during this time of crisis. And so shift is an interesting concept. It's something that we've thought a lot about at GoDaddy, to the point where we actually created a commercial last year called Shift. And in it, it depicted a guy who had a fictional moving company, and during the course of a move, he hurt his back. And so we thought, this moving other people's heavy furniture is for the birds. What can I do? How can I change my business? And so in the commercial, he leveraged his food truck and turned it into a food truck, or a moving truck into a food truck, to create a falafel business. So it was an interesting concept for us to explore. A shift is something that we see entrepreneurs doing because of their resiliency and because of their adaptability to respond to environmental, economic, or lifestyle changes. And the third question to ask yourself as part of your assessment is, have your customers changed? Can you see new audiences benefiting from your product or service? And what are some new ways to reach them? Or who can you partner with? Once you've done your assessment, another question to ask yourself is, can you change the way you present your product or service to be more relevant? Here on the screen is an example of a local restaurant in my neighborhood. As you can see on the left, this was their menu on their website, sort of pre-COVID era. So now, since they've started doing only delivery and takeout, they've actually changed the way they represent their menu. And you can see here that they now show pictures of all the food, so you don't have to imagine what that food is anymore. So a change in perspective changed their presentation. And how much more likely would you be to order their food now, especially if you weren't familiar with this restaurant and wanted to know a little more about them before you ordered? I think this is a small but impactful change. And also note that they've put their email and their phone number right up here above their menu, so you can easily reach them with your order. The next main theme to think about is around how you can take exceptional care of your customers. I'm sure you're familiar with the saying that it costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer than it does to keep an existing one. So make sure you make time for this, as the next question to ask yourself is, how do you let your customers know you care? So the example down here in the bottom of the screen is from, it's just a very simple example. It's from another local small business in my neighborhood. And they do a lot of posting on Instagram with engaging, relevant, and humorous content. I made a comment on one of their posts a few weeks ago, and by the simple act of liking my comment, which I've circled here in yellow, it helps to cement the relationship and connection I have to this business, and it's keeping them top of mind and relevant. So I'm going to be thinking about them when they reopen. So remember to keep communicating with your customers and ask them to help you spread the word, and tell them how they can help you, but don't sound desperate. And what I mean by that is, it's great to ask customers to help by buying a gift card or talking you up to their friends. But recently I received an email from a small business I frequent asking for help, or else they were going to go out of business, letting me know they already had to let employees go and reducing their hours. It was actually kind of depressing and sad to read. So ask your customers for help, but don't scare them off. And as you consider communicating with your customers, think about another area, which is how you can show, how you can go the extra mile, whatever that means for your business. At GoDaddy, we frequently run TV campaigns that require us to set up real small businesses using our tools to bring ideas to reality. This often entails us getting into the inventory management business. Over the past 3 years, we've sold everything from itty bitty ballers to wooden bowls and books and mugs. We always include a thank you card with purchase when we send these items out to remind people that the proceeds go to charity. This has been a nice way to create more brand awareness and show customers that we appreciate their business, even for our real fake small businesses. So think about what you can do in your business that goes the extra mile for your customers. The next main theme is about your online presence and, of course, your website. If a website is not a key component of your digital strategy, then ask yourself, why not, and what are you waiting for? You may be surprised to note that only around 40% of Canadian small businesses have a website. In another survey we did, we asked customers, why not? They basically said they felt they were too small, or it was too hard to create a website, and they lacked the technical skills, or they lacked the time. So honestly, with today's technology, it's actually really very easy, even if you don't have any technical skills at all. For a while last year, we were using a campaign around build your website in under an hour, because really it's that easy with modern tools today. GoDaddy has a great free website builder, so you can start for free. You only pay if you want to hook it up to your custom domain or if you want to start doing customer transactions. So I encourage you to check it out, or any builder of your choice, because you don't want to miss out on people finding you online when they do searches for products or services that they want to buy. Another caveat of not having a website is not being able to give your customers up-to-date information. Recently, I visited the website of another local small business that I frequent. They were closed, but asked people to go to their Instagram for updates on when they'd be reopening. However, they are frequent Instagram posters, and so I had to scroll back through 20 or 25 posts before I actually found the information I was looking for about when they would be reopening. This would have worked way better in reverse, using Instagram to refer me back to their website where they could keep the information front and center. Social media and websites should work together in tandem for your business, and it shouldn't be a case of either or. I'm going to go ahead and assume that if you're listening today, you may already have a website, or you might not, but you may actually want to do a refresh to your website. And if you do, here's just a few tips to keep in mind. First, you want to make sure your website is really visually appealing. So using white space or clean, vibrant images to catch attention. You want to make sure your page loads fast, and this will become apparent in my next slide, but you want to limit things like video or music when the page loads. Highlight the things you want people to do. Order here, start now. If you make those prominent features, you'll be surprised at how many people will actually click on them. And make forms easy to use and fill in. I happen to live on a street that has an apostrophe in the street name. It makes it really hard when I'm filling in forms and it says invalid entry. The same thing can happen with postal code formatting and phone number formatting. So when you're thinking about your website and the user experience, treat it like you're visiting that site and go through that experience so you can see what it's like for you, and that will help you make sense of it for your customers. The next question to ask yourself is, have you used SEO? So in yet another survey we did a couple of years ago, we found that most small businesses felt that SEO would have the biggest impact on their business, and yet most also did not actually know what it was. So simply put, it stands for search engine optimization, and it makes Google or other search engines able to find you in a sea of options. So according to Adweek, over 80% of all purchases begin with an online search, which means the higher that you rank, the more likely your customers will find you and not your competitors. And just as an example, I did a quick search on dog walkers in Toronto, and you can see there was pages and pages and pages, and it kept going on even past these 4 pages that I've highlighted here. But if I were this business showing up in the middle of page 4, it's likely that people would never actually get down to my site unless they were specifically looking for my site. So if I'm just doing a generic query on dog walkers, I'm probably going to pick someone off the first page, maybe off the second page. So here's some tips for SEO that you might want to keep in mind as you're optimizing your site. Okay, first most important thing is to research your keywords. You can use something like Google Keyword Planner or Keywords Everywhere. It's important to know what your customers are looking for, such as dog walking services Toronto, and use that knowledge to deliver what they need. Content is really, really important. You want to make sure it's useful, current, relevant, and interesting. And as you're creating content, be sure to use those keywords that you research, sort of peppered throughout, but not overuse. If you stuff keywords into your pages or your blog posts, search engines will know you're trying to game the system and they'll actually penalize you for it. Make your website mobile friendly. So I think in the past year or two, Google introduced something called mobile first indexing, meaning that your page has to look great on mobile. You can check out your own website just by looking on your phone and maybe asking a couple of people with different models or browsers on their phone to check out your website as well. And also, if you are using a tool like GoDaddy Websites Plus Marketing, before you publish your site, you can see what it looks like both in a mobile browser and in a desktop browser, so you'll know that your site's going to look great before you even publish it. Another thing to do is avoid duplicate content. So Google will penalize websites that have duplicate content on multiple pages. Original content is really important to help you index well. The next thing you want to do is showcase reviews and testimonials. The more online visibility your business has, the more traffic your site will generate. The next thing is to understand backlinking. So backlinking refers to when you have other sites linking to your blog or your web page. So getting backlinks from relevant, reputable websites or blogs is really important to help you index well. So you should maybe consider something like guest blogging to have people write about you and put links to your site in their articles. The next thing to understand is don't play tricks. If you try and fool search engines, they will know and they will penalize you for it. You can read something like the Moz blog, M-O-Z blog, and that will give you sort of the latest and best practices for doing SEO. Once you've done all this, you can start to measure success. And so using analytics tools, you can see how much traffic's come to your site, your conversion rate. You might want to sign up for Google Analytics, and that will give you sort of ongoing success metrics around your SEO so that you can keep it top of mind and keep tweaking things to improve your ranking. Talked about speeding up your website when we looked at the website section. But if your page takes longer than about 2 seconds to load, you will be penalized for that too. So you might want to use something like Google Page Speed Insights. It's something you can search and get some tips on optimizing load time for your page. And then finally, a well-organized site helps Google see your site better. So the same way you're optimizing your site for your customers to have sort of a smooth and effective journey through, that actually helps Google as well when they're looking at you in terms of ranking. Now, all this doesn't happen overnight. Once you start putting these practices into play, it can take about 6 months for you to start ranking on the first page, but it's definitely worth it in the long run as you put all these best practices into play to get on that first page. It's super important for people to be able to find you. And as you think about the role of your website in reaching customers, do you see an opportunity to sell your product or your service online? 17% of SMEs have an e-commerce website, but when you look at smaller businesses, that number drops to about 12%, so it's pretty low. However, since the start of COVID, this is maybe measured as of the end of April, there's been an increase of 146% in online orders, and honestly, I thought that might even be higher. We at GoDaddy have seen over 300% increase in the number of people coming in and purchasing the online store version of our website. So it just goes to show you that there's a lot of new e-commerce websites out there, and it might be something to take advantage of. So ask yourself if selling online is something that you could do. Now that we've looked at the impact of having a website and an online store, the next great thing to think about would be to maximize your digital marketing tools. And that can really propel your business forward. So let's take a look at the first one. So how are you communicating with your customers today? Is email part of your strategy? It might seem a little old-fashioned, but honestly, it still works. You can get an email marketing tool from a company like GoDaddy or others. We sell it either as a standalone tool or it comes as part of the Websites Plus Marketing package. The tool manages the back end with everything you need to set up and manage email campaigns. Once you get it set up and running, you're ready to start. That's really where you'd want to start collecting customer email addresses. You can do that on your website or through your social media channels. So you might want to consider giving your customer an incentive in exchange for subscribing, offering a discount or a free product, or you sometimes see if people will send you something on your birthday. And very similar to your website, you want to use clean, clear imagery, provide compelling content, keep your points simple, not too much text, and make sure you include a call to action. Why are you sending them this email? What do you want them to do? You can also use it to cross-promote your social channels. So getting them to sign up for your YouTube or your LinkedIn or Twitter. And also the one thing you want to make sure in Canada is that you have an unsubscribe option. So if you use a tool like GoDaddy Email Marketing, it is CASL compliant and will provide you with the legal compliance for that. Once you've started doing your email campaigns and you've maybe got a few months under your belt, you can look at your performance, you can look at your open rates, you can look at your click-through rates, and you can see who's reading your email communications and who isn't. I'd say maybe every 6 months or so, you probably want to do some maintenance and maybe take out the people that are not opening and not clicking through on your content. Maybe set them aside for a while and then just let them chill, and you can always kind of start emailing them later to see if they start picking up and reading your email communications. In conjunction with email marketing, another really important thing to consider is how you can evolve and maximize your social media presence. So social media is one of the quickest and best ways to engage with customers real time, listen to their feedback, and communicate in the moment things to them. I would suggest that you probably want to pick a home. It's really hard to maintain a presence across multiple platforms. So, think about what's right for you. Is it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, or LinkedIn? So there's a lot of choices in the market. So pick a home, build your space in that home, and then be consistent in the way you show up with your brand in that space. You want to post regularly, so you can choose the cadence. I would say maybe once or twice a week would be really good. So make sure you're posting regularly and just don't go really hot for a while and then cool and hot and cool. It's better to just sort of keep a regular cadence. You also want to make sure that you engage with your audience. Be human, be yourself. You're not a robot, you're not a corporation. So have a little fun. Make sure you're responding to them in your own voice. And then finally, social is also great just for being able to follow your competition. So see what they're doing and how they're talking to customers and what they're saying. And then the last thing on your social media is really connect the dots. So what I talked about earlier with website is you want to make sure your website and your social is working together. And for example, with the GoDaddy Website Plus Marketing, you can manage your social right from within the dashboard that manages your website presence. So it's a nice all-in-one solution to keep everything holistic. So those are 10 things to ask yourself as you continue to evolve in these ever-changing times. And in addition, I had thought of 2 bonus areas that I wanted to add on at the last minute. So these are what I call the bonus category. So in Toronto, there's the local BIAs. So I think there's about 83 BIAs representing over 30,000 businesses in Toronto. And I'm sure other regions have something similar. I found this great blog on my local BIA, and it's been a godsend just to know what's open locally, what their hours are, how I can keep shopping locally, delivery options, pickup options, all that kind of stuff is in this blog. So it's been great. So I suggest that you get engaged with your local BIA or with another like-minded association if you haven't already. And then another thing I've just been reading a ton about lately is the global impact of COVID-19 on supply chains. So the upshot is with shortened and dysfunctioning global supply chains, there could be an opportunity for local businesses to fill some of the gaps. So it's a great opportunity to look at for those that can take advantage of it. And with that, that concludes the top 10 things plus the 2 bonus things to consider as you navigate these uncharted waters and hopefully land on safe shores soon. Thank you very much. For questions, please visit us at the GoDaddy booth. We will be there for the next, till the end of the show, and would love to chat with you more there. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Anne. Great presentation. Lots of great takeaways for people. For anybody who wants to see, as Anne mentioned, feel free to visit the GoDaddy booth, which is in the expo part on your left-hand side. And you can also see how much time is left in the event at 1:13, which is just above the in the kind of towards the top right of your screen. But yeah, thanks so much, Anne, for sharing your wisdom and for a lot of great takeaways. That's awesome. Just wanted to let everybody know that in 15 minutes or so at 3:30, we'll be having our CEO panel that I'll be moderating. We have the CEOs from D&B Appliances, Zoocasa, and Paramount Fine Foods who are going to join us, and looking forward to that. That'll run from 3:30 to 4:30. But in the meantime, you got 15 minutes or so to kind of check out the rest of the event, and also check out the networking part of it as well, where you can randomly be connected with people that you may not have otherwise met. So thanks a lot, and again, and I'll see everybody back on here at the main stage in 15 minutes or so. Thanks.